Good evening, everyone. I'll call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for June of 2021. All three members of the committee are present. We have a quorum. Before I move on to item number 2, I would just like to say to the stakeholders in the room, I'm going to ask that moving forward, if you have any comments or corrections or items regarding the minutes, that you print them out and bring them with you. Save a little bit of workload on the recording secretary with the, with the printing and the copying and so on. I would really appreciate that. So, adoption of previous minutes from May 12th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented. Motion made by Alderman Bettencourt.
I'll second.
Seconded by Alderman Nash. Any additions, corrections, comments? Hearing none. We'll vote by roll call. So Alderman Bettencourt?
Yes.
Alderman Nash?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. The minutes from our previous meeting are adopted. Thank you. Item number 3, citizen comment. So now that we are back in person and we are using council chambers with the mics and the live stream, I would ask anyone that would like to make a public comment to come to the podium, just as we do during council meetings. Public comment is now open, and by raising hands, I will just work my way around the room for anyone that would like to address the committee. Joanne Filbert, please. And in the fashion of the city council, please state name and address before you speak.
Good evening, Joanne Filbert, 10 Elm Avenue. I'd like to clarification before I start. I was under the impression there's a big sign at the door that says masks are required. So masks are no longer required in the city hall, so when I come tomorrow to visit each and every department, I won't be wearing a mask.
Masks are not.
You shrug like it's nothing.
John, could you respond to that, please?
Masks are only required for people that are not vaccinated.
Thank you.
And
It
where
should
is
say
the
that
vaccination
it's-
police?
Excuse me?
Where is the vaccination police?
We're taking the person's word for it, like the rest of Connecticut.
I usually just speak, but I'm almost 80 and I'm in declining health, so I'll remove my mask because I am fully vaccinated. And I just wanted to say a few things. I have always tried to support both the career and the volunteer fire departments in Norwich. I understand that there are some people in the community that don't like me. That's fine by me, because there are some people in the community that I don't like either. The difference is that I am honest and open. What I will not support is the apparent lack of accountability and transparency of the policies and procedure administrators whose job it is to support and recognize the voice of the people. You are all in those seats because you are either paid to be there or you were elected by the people. It shouldn't matter to you whether or not you don't like someone or you really, really like someone. It is your job and your responsibility to represent the people. So I'm going to speak on the recent fire survey. A recent fire survey paid for by the taxpayers in the amount of approximately $89,000 resulted in a 100-plus page of observations and recommendations. It is confusing and, quite frankly, annoying to me that you have chosen to cherry-pick what you feel is the most pressing item, i.e. the fire commissioner. Am I keeping you from something, Mr. Salamone?
I'm listening.
Okay. It would be nice if you would hold your head up and look at me.
I'm listening. I can do it both ways. Mrs.
Hiring a
Filbert.
fire commissioner is an insult to just about everybody. A salary of $140,000 for a three-quarter-time position without a definitive job description is irresponsible. Now, I have been told, because I went out and asked, that there is a job description that is in the works. I read in the paper, or I read online, I don't subscribe, so I couldn't read the whole article, that a public hearing is scheduled for the 14th to introduce an ordinance to create this position, which is the true definition of hindsight. If the city charter requires that you create an ordinance and have a public hearing to create this position, why wasn't it done months ago? Why is it now at the 11th hour that you finally are like, did the light bulb go off? The ordinance should have been introduced first, then a job description created, and then, and only then, presented as a line item. I am sure you are all familiar with the saying, it's not the cost, it's the upkeep. A review of the city manager's budget indicates an $82,000 increase in fringe benefits. Since the only increase in the city manager's budget for personnel is the fire commission, I can only assume that the $82,000 represents the added fringe benefits for the three-quarter-time fire commissioner. I am not the first person to raise this issue. At your other meeting the other night, a gentleman got up and spoke about it's not just the cost of hiring the fire commissioner. The fire commissioner needs a car, a radio, a cell phone, a dedicated office space, probably support staff. How much is that going to cost? Have you, as a group, talked about these things? Have you reached a consensus? And if so, I would respectfully request that you direct me to where I can find this information. Now, and the other thing, these would be a more accurate accounting of the actual cost. It's not just $140 for the salary. It's the fringe benefits and all the other minutia that I just mentioned. The average citizen probably wouldn't recognize this, i.e. the increases in the line items, because they either don't know or they don't care. I, on the other hand, pay attention. I always have, I always will. I will always ask the difficult questions. Whether you choose to answer them is entirely up to you. Am I a little cynical and annoyed right now? Yes, because in the last 15 months, with one or two exceptions, none of you have seen fit to answer any of my questions and concerns. I am one of 37,000 people that live in the city. I pay my taxes. But now you're all running for re-election, so I'm sure you'll all be right up. Now is not the time, in my opinion, to introduce this change. It is the city manager's responsibility to ensure that all departments play nice in the sandbox. We don't need to add another position. We don't need to add another layer of bureaucracy. We don't need to add fuel to the fire that already exists between the career and the volunteer departments. Now, if I am incorrect or laboring under some misconception about anything that I have said here tonight, I would truly appreciate it if one or more of you would reach out to me and educate me so that I know, oh, what is this sense? You're all sitting up there like I have two things. It's disrespectful.
Thank you. I don't normally comment after public comment. I just want to clarify one thing. The public hearing is on June 21st in council chambers. I just want the public to have the correct date. Thank you.
I appreciate that, because the bulletin said next month.
Is there any other public comment? Chief Case. Welcome, sir. It's good to see you.
Excuse me, Stephen Case, 31 South A Street, Tafel, Connecticut. I don't get it. I just don't get it. 4 decades I've been dealing with this now. a young Peter Nystrom made in one of my first offices, tried to change the structure of the fire departments way back when. And we loaded the room, if you might remember. We had, I don't know, 400 or 500 taxpayers there saying, we don't want to change what's going on. And now you guys are going to try to start again. Section 820 says, organization, status, and property of volunteer fire companies not affected. Nothing in this article should be construed to affect the organization, status, or property of the volunteer fire departments now or hereafter established outside the limits of the city consolidated district. That's number one. I'll just do a few budget comparisons here real quick. The total city operating budget of the volunteer departments for last year is $643,209. Why are you wasting your time on us? The senior citizens budget, operating budget is $685,000. I don't see them coming down and you guys going over their little books and things, always bringing us under the fire. You're going to pay $140,000 for a guy to watch a $43,000 budget. It's ludicrous. Try not to get excited here. The Otis Library budget is $995,000. And in the budget book, it reads, appropriation funds of over 80% of the Otis appropriated funds over 80% of the Otis Library operating budget. Is the mission to provide books and services and whatever. I'm not saying that these things are bad, but I'm saying you don't tell them how to operate. The Taplin Fire Department's been in existence for over 100 years. We've been doing a damn good job of it. We're subcontractors. I don't know how you can come in our house and tell us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. You could fire us. You can try to fill our house with the paid guys. And I don't have a problem. They need us and we need them. It's been a coexistence in that whole period of time. So I don't understand where all this is coming from. Number 4 on this superintendent of the fire services job description. Independently or in conjunction with the fire chiefs shall work to ensure the appropriate service and delivery throughout the city of Norwich. This is giving this guy a carte blanche to do what the hell he wants. I'm totally in disagreement with all of this stuff. You don't go down to the police department and tell Pat Daly how to run his operation. Your job is to fund us and make sure that we're not misappropriating these funds. Don't shake your head, because you told me you were going to back us all the way. We'll talk. How things change. If you decided to put 2 men in each one of our houses, you're talking about doubling this budget. Instead of spreading the tax at $10,000 or $12 million, it would be $24 million. And the volunteers that are still left there, they're not going to get up in the middle of the night. You need the services of all of us. This makes us strong. You know, we're not going to put out a whole city block with 24 people. We have 250 people we can offer you for $643,000 a year. It makes no sense. It's 0.45% of 1% of the budget. I don't get it. And we're already paying a portion of the salaries to the city of Norwich through our tax, the general fund, for the services that they give us. Like I said, I have nothing against them. We share the responsibilities. We do our training. You know, I don't know what else to tell you about this. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you, Peter. Because then it was 10 years later, it was the Taxpayers Association that came after us to try to change, to do away with the pay department and tell us that we were gonna take over the whole city. That was ludicrous too. So there's been a lot of changes to try to change things. I don't think that this is the way to go. I think if the city manager had took this bull by the horn in the beginning, we wouldn't be standing here today. He called many, many meetings and canceled many, many meetings of the fire chiefs. And this is only hearsay from listening to the chiefs. Had he paid attention to this in the beginning, we wouldn't be here today. And secondly, there's a little rumor going around that this money would be better spent on an assistant city manager. You know, maybe if he's so busy he can't meet with the fire chiefs, that position should be filled and everybody could enjoy that. You know, not only the fire departments, all the city departments would have somebody to go listen to. And he could have that assistant city manager meet with the volunteer and the paid chiefs a couple times a year, 3-4 times a year, and address these functions, not have somebody over us to babysit us. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment tonight? Chief Eckert.
Scott Eggert, 11 Tanglewood Drive. I'm also going to speak on the fire director. This is an unnecessary position that is causing the city to spend more money than we actually need to spend. The proposed budget is allotting $140,000 to fund this position, which would fall under the city manager, but doesn't account for anything else that we've already mentioned before. What are the other costs? A secretary, that salary? Or since it's an employee of the city manager, does his executive assistant increase her workload without increasing her salary? A city vehicle to be in the capacity of a PIO, so on and so forth. Does he or she eventually get his or her own budget? At what point does this go up or down? The job description is contradicting in itself. We already mentioned that they're going to function independently or in conjunction with. Well, which is it? Promote and develop relationships with the citizens. That's already something that we do, and it takes more than one person to do that. Present to the city manager and city council on operations and other matters. Done. This job description is everything each fire chief already does, paid and volunteer, and the list can go on and on. And what are the requirements? You need to outline that before you decide what you'll pay them. Certifications come at a cost, and the right person to fit the job needs to fit the right price point if you push this ordinance through. How many of you have put on turnout gear recently and done what we do? There was a 3-alarm structure fire in the city. The mayor was there as well as the city manager, and they checked on operations and the firefighters in the sweltering heat. I'm sure you can ask them what they saw there, and they can tell you that there were a whole lot of firefighters working side by side to accomplish one mission. But you'd never be able to tell who they were just by looking at them. You sat here on Monday night and praised all of us for our response and prevention of the fire from spreading to other dwellings. And yet, we sit here tonight to push a job to tell us how we need to do our job. Chief Montoya was quoted as saying that we have our disagreements, but that's typical in any work environment. We can agree to disagree and still come together to protect the public, which is what we do on a daily basis. When was the last time you came to a firehouse that wasn't for a meeting, but to interact with firefighters and see what they do? I know a couple that do it. A great leader ensures that they go and check on their people. And sometimes we rarely do see the Public Safety Committee. There are bigger cities in Connecticut that function just as fine without this position, but a company from Illinois that doesn't understand New England tactics, they come in, they suggest it, and all of a sudden we're all for it. The city manager gave the chiefs 4 weeks to figure out how we can move forward. Here we are 2 weeks later. This position may sound more like a political move instead of taking care of the citizens of Norwich, which was executed well Sunday at Roth Street by the professional firefighters of the Rose City and their mutual aid companies, something a fire commissioner will never be able to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Welcome, Chief.
My name's Carol Spalding. I live at 46 Nashua Street here in Norwich. I want to speak on this fire director, which I'm in agreement with my comrades. It is total ludicrous. I don't know where you're going to come up with this money, but I am highly opposed to this. And I hope you're going to put it out to vote for the voters to vote on this so that it pass. But if you do, look at one thing. You're going to have volunteers all around you when you do. What you need to learn is, what I'm looking at here is that you did the fire study. You spent the money on the fire study. Now you're trying to justify the fire study. Instead of trying to create a position that the chiefs already do, why don't you put the money into something more constructive? Oh, I don't know, probably like maybe fixing our city streets, because we have some real bad ones. Or how about putting it into education for our special needs children? You people need to wake up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Chief?
Hey, good evening, everyone. Bill Ibers, Chief of the Antic Fire Company, 44 Fitchville Road in Yantic. I also want to speak on the position of Fire Director. For the record, myself and the members of the Antic Fire Company are opposed to this expensive and unnecessary position. If we look at the fire report as being a report card, it really wasn't that bad. Some of those things identified in that report card were brought up a couple of years ago by an in-house study, and no one listened. There were no significant failures identified. And if you actually look at the report, it says that the volunteer fire service in this city is active, viable, and bucking national trends. So I question why the Public Safety Committee is fast-tracking this most expensive alternative without looking at an internal remediation plan first. Joe, you as an educator, you got to understand that. The study of the report card was a jab in the ribs. And can improvements be made? Yeah. Just about any time you get someone looking from the outside at your organization, it offers a different perspective. The 6 Norwich Chiefs are meeting. The 6 Norwich Chiefs are meeting with the city manager and addressing issues that were brought forth by the study. We have set priorities. We have set goals. And they are all in line with your study. All 6 chiefs currently do the multiple tasks that are proposed in the draft fire director's job description without any additional cost to the taxpayers or an additional layer of bureaucracy. That's the second time we heard that word tonight. And we weren't talking earlier. This position is being fast-tracked. It's hard to understand why. Fast-tracked without the input of the Norwich Fire Service, or building off of Norwich's uniqueness and or our experienced firefighters. Fast-tracked via ordinance, which in and of itself is questionable. And fast-tracked by emotion with little or no thought. Is this costly proposal of a fire director as a means to effect change necessary? I personally don't think so. The study's already affected some changes. I ask you all to give the 6 chiefs time to come back with an internal remediation plan in line with the study, in-house, local, and with decades of Norwich firefighter experience and input without a significant cost to taxpayers. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Chief. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment tonight? Sir?
Good evening. My name is Bill Haddam. I live at 120 South Saginaw Ave in Taffville, and I'm Assistant Chief of the Taffville Fire Department. I stand here tonight to express my opposition, as everyone else has, to the proposal for the Superintendent of Fire Services. I've been in the fire department for 37 years. I started back in 1983 when Chief Harold Lamphere was the chief in Norwich. In my opinion, and the opinion of several others here, as you can see tonight, are against the position of the Superintendent of Fire Services or Commissioner, or whatever you want to call it. It's unwanted and unnecessary in Norwich, Connecticut. I'm not one to beat a dead horse, but this is a horse that really needs to be beat. So I'm going to say my piece. And to address the white elephant in the room, the ordinance appears to be politically motivated, just like the fire study was. The study suggested that they create a position of a commissioner or superintendent, whatever you want to call them, to oversee the entire fire service in Norwich. However, with any study done, they're going to cater to who's paying the bill. So they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Like I said before, I've been in the fire service for 37 years, and the system in place works. Is it a perfect system? No, there is no perfect system out there, but it works. Can improvements be made? Of course improvements can be made, but we can make them in-house without being supervised by another entity, and especially at a cost to the city. Because the fire service, we continually need to adapt to the ever-changing hazards. This is accomplished by in-house training, using specialty fire training services, and using the local, state, and national fire academies to get all of our training done. It's already being done, so we don't need anybody to oversee that. Each and every department does a commendable job keeping up with this training, so there's no need for a superintendent to oversee. And as far as the operations go, each department has their own set of operating procedures and policies in place. And they're all based on the NFPA standards. So there's no need for anybody to work on that. It's already in place. It's been reported by the media that comments have been made in the past that meetings were requested by between the city manager and the fire chiefs. And those meetings did take place, but they were deemed to be unproductive. No, they were very productive. However, the results of these meetings were not what some council members wanted to hear, so they're labeled as unproductive because you didn't hear what you weren't told what you wanted to hear. So the solution must be to hire somebody to tell the council what they want to hear, a fire superintendent. But that will come at a cost to the taxpayers of Norwich. The cost is unwanted and unnecessary for a position that's duties are already being accomplished. Seems the fire service continually attempted to be micromanaged by those lacking the knowledge of the job. The recent fire in Norwich is the prime example of all departments working together and getting the job done. I've heard nothing but praise and admiration for the fire service. So the bottom line, and to use a couple of cliches, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, and don't fix it if it ain't broke.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Sir?
How are you? My name is Mike Grillo. I live at 202 North Corrigas Hill Road. I've never spoken from one before, so I apologize if I don't sound like everybody else. I'm not a member of any fire department in the city of Norwich. I have no interest in the fire service as a stakeholder. The reason why I'm here is because I'm a taxpayer in Norwich. My business is located in Industrial Park. We employ, give or take, about 40 different people, depending on the time of the week. But the reason why I wanted to address some of this stuff is that obviously everybody's pretty aware the taxes in the city of Norwich are pretty high, right? And with stuff that's going on throughout, obviously nobody's controlled here, our margins are getting much smaller, right? Between fuel going up, between minimum wage raising, it's getting really tough. And the last thing we want to do is add more of unnecessary ways to spend money instead of ways to help. I had a speech completely lined up, but I didn't think that the comments that happened would have happened. I think that that's a whole different conversation. But one thing that I think is different about the city of Norwich Fire Service, and like I said, I don't have a stake in this, other than just I don't want to pay for it. But to my knowledge, the most unique thing about the Norwich Fire Service compared to areas around, right, and surrounding towns relying on the Norwich Fire Service, is that the continuity in leadership amongst the 6 departments is second to none, and I don't believe that you will find that anywhere else. I think that the chiefs are more than qualified to be able to do what it is that they do. I know Chief Ivers runs the fire school. Most of everybody has probably gone through because they were his student. And they have led amazing projects like what they did at the Eastern Fire School. I think that the people that you have involved, as a city, we are beyond fortunate to be able to have the continuity that we do. The fact that these guys that are in these positions have done it for years. I would understand the need of a fire administrator if you didn't have the same guys that you could always talk to, the guys that haven't been in the department very long or switching up every other year. I totally understand that. The thing that concerns me is that there is a few people that are members of the fire service, and I didn't know this until this conversation happened. To say that, I think what was the comment made, the elephant in the room, that it's politically motivated, I obviously don't want to believe that. I think that is a hard statement to make. I can't imagine that the city of Norwich would not back the fire service, paid or volunteer. I think that, like I said, that's an aggressive statement. I don't know, but that's not cool. And regardless if that is true or not, the fact that it is even understood or perceived to be like that is also just as bad. I don't believe that any member on the city council holds a certificate in the fire service, right? Nobody is a fire administrator or has a degree in fire administration. I know that chiefs do. A lot of the chiefs in the city do, right? When I go and do my taxes, I defer to my accountant because I'll go to jail if I don't, right? I don't know the tax law and I'll probably get in trouble. What I would ask is that the city council defers the business of the fire service to the qualified individuals that are doing it. When we call 911, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I don't know, right? But they do. And I think that interfering with that leads to, there's no win. There's no win. You have every department telling you no. I am a taxpayer saying that I don't want to pay for it. I don't agree in overspending for any reason. I don't think that it's a problem that needs to get fixed like this. I don't understand. I read a lot of public comments on the day's article. Nobody is for it. I understand the fire study recommended a few things, and I also understand the fire study references departments outside of this region. I do have a fire background, just not with the city of Norwich. And I do understand that I read the report, and that the fire study references a lot of West Coast-based departments, right? And operating the same way is, I don't even think that's possible. So using the material that you're using to be able to base your decision on, based on fact, I think that you're comparing apples to oranges. I would ask, again, if a decision can't be made in conjunction with the volunteer and career fire service in the city of Norwich, to at minimum postpone this decision to where everybody can feel comfortable coming to the table. My biggest concern, like I said, was taxes. Now listening to what was said, I think that making a decision one way or another, nobody's going to walk out of the room happy. You were elected on behalf of the community to be here and be able to make decisions on behalf of us. And I trust the judgment of the city council, right? Because I'm not going to stand up here and bash you guys. It's like, I respect what you're doing. Seriously, I don't know that it's not easy. I know we've talked about it before. It's not an easy thing. You're never going to make everybody happy, and I understand that. But what I would ask is that before making a decision one way or the other, to try to get everybody to the table, get a comparable resolution to it, regardless of what it is, before making a decision. Because I think that the backlash and the way that it's going to happen, like I said, you can't have a fire department concerned about whether or not the city backs them. And as a citizen, that's not okay. And perception sometimes is more important than reality. So I appreciate you guys listening to me talk. Oh, it says I have 3 minutes. But I appreciate you guys listening to me talk. Have a good night. Thanks.
You too.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment tonight? Chief.
Good evening, Tom Jenks, 10 South D Street. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Tafel Fire Department. Myself and the members strongly oppose the position of the directors. Director's position, in my opinion, is not needed at this time. Problems with the previous administration have hindered potential growth, relationships between the departments. Prior administrations have worked extremely close for the past 40 years. This is nothing new. To create a stronger work environment, moving forward for a new administration in place, the departments have renewed energy to rebuild these relationships. The chiefs are already working jointly on several key issues that were outlined in the recent study. The continued hindrance and micromanagement from the council over the years remains a constant hurdle that the fire chiefs are required to overcome every 2 years. This leads them to form a utopia fire service in their minds based on television and their beliefs of what it should not be, beliefs of what it should be, not what it actually is based on. Years of experience in society's demands and any other unforeseen issues. While the ordinance may appear that it will fix all the issues, it's just the opposite. It actually creates numerous potential large-scale issues that can negatively impact emergency services. The funding allocated for this position demonstrates yet another example of wasting taxpayers' money by the City Council without considering feedback from the public, given today's fears of the unknown due to the recent pandemic. Instead, the Council is choosing to rule through the ordinance to satisfy a personal agenda. If there is so much wrong with how the job has been performed adequately and professionally for over 100 years without this position, maybe this type of position should be a referendum, questions to the taxpayers at the November election. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, Chief.
Good evening. Aaron Westervelt, 16 Laurel Circle Drive. I'm the chief of the Laurel Hill Fire Department, have been for just over 12 years. Obviously, I'm going to come up here and talk about the fire service director. I think you understand where everyone stands on that currently. A lot of good points were made tonight. The fire service as a whole is not perfect. Someone came in, we spent money on a study. They came in, they gave us their opinion. We understand the opinion. There's a lot of things we can change, maybe make better. We have been meeting. We've met, all 6 chiefs have met on a regular basis now for the last couple months. We have things in the works. We have things that we know we can make better. But we have to be given the opportunity to do that. Over the last 12 years, I've heard just about everything from many people on city council. The system's broken, but they can't tell us how. We're not perfect. Like I said, we can change things. The money, $140,000 with fringe benefits, and like everyone else said, all the other chiefs said, there's more cost to it. It's not going to stop there. What is their role going to be on a day-to-day basis? We don't really know. The money can be used elsewhere. The study labeled a big problem we have in Norwich, which we aren't talking about, which is the radio system. We have yet to talk about that. Right now, we're focusing on this. Budget cycle is almost over, and here we are at a public safety meeting, and this is the first thing everyone's talking about. Not the radios that could save someone's life. We had a 3-alarm fire the other day. Thank God everyone made it out. We ended up sending 3 people, I believe, to the hospital. Thank God it wasn't super serious, but it could have been. We don't have a radio system adequate enough to deal with a major emergency within the emergency. That's stuff we need to actually address. And I think the money that we have, and we're talking about spending, can be more used and be better used for that type of thing. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment tonight? Chief?
Good evening. Keith Melton, 91 Lucas Park Road, also the fire chief of the East Great Plains Fire Company. I'm sure you all know why I'm standing up here with my comrades for the fire service director. I don't have no long speech written out. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, as we say. Speaking on behalf of my department, myself and all the members are opposed to this. Again, as some of the chiefs already said, do we have issues? Yeah, we're working on those. You got to give us time. It was once said at one of our public meetings, public safety meetings, that this isn't going to be a push-through thing. It's going to be a time thing. Here we are a few months later, in my personal opinion, being shoved down our throat. There was no time given. We've done, as we said, we've met with the city manager. We've set our goals, working on stuff. We're starting to get our departments together. Trainings are taking place. So I think if you give us time, we can come up with an agenda and what needs to be done, and I'm pretty sure with the talent that we have in this town, with between the career and the volunteers, there's nothing that we can't accomplish as a team and make it the way it needs to be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment tonight? Second request, is there any other public comment tonight? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. I am not going to repeat what has been said. I will simply say that as blessed as the city is, when you combine the years of service of all 6 departments, you're over 600 years. That's nothing to mess around with or screw up. I trust our 6 chiefs and I trust our city manager, and I believe they can get this job done that the study calls for without spending taxpayer money. Taxpayer money is something that is in short supply if you're the one paying the tax. And the taxes are high in this city, and we know that. We don't need to add to that burden for this purpose in this rushed event. I would ask this subcommittee of the council to recommend that this ordinance not go forward and replace it with a resolution supported by the entire council, codifying the meetings with the city manager and the chiefs as part of his job description and responsibilities, and give them that opportunity they've asked for tonight. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment tonight? Second request again, is there any other public comment tonight? Third and final request, is there any other public comment tonight? Hearing none, declare public comment closed. Thank you to everyone. Next item on our agenda is item number 4, which is unfinished business with our COVID update. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make this very brief tonight. It's brief because it's generally good news. We are out of the red zone. We're out of the orange zone. We're into the yellow zone, which is below 18 cases per 100,000. And it trended down as low as 5 cases per 100,000 2 weeks ago. It's gone up a little bit, which I think might be a response to the Memorial Day holiday, where there are more people interacting with each other, some vaccinated, some not. But it's not a large rebound. The city hall opened up in the end of May. We've had a good response. Citizens have been very responsive to what we have put in place. Department heads are working pretty much regularly at this point. We do have a mask protocol for those who are not vaccinated. Per the state recommendations, we are not questioning whether the authenticity of the user is there. might be a weak link, but most people are pretty honest and conscientious about protecting others. We are having vaccination clinics throughout the city during the week. We just concluded a vaccination clinic at the Transportation Center, 2 hours a day for 5 weeks. It went very well. It was utilized by individuals that don't have transportation, take the bus. So in between taking the bus, they could get a vaccine shot. So we are very pleased with that. It continues at the food distribution center on the east end of the city, and that will continue as long as the food drive is on or the vaccine stays in supply. So with that, I'll take any questions from the commissioners.
Questions, gentlemen? Good. I have no questions. Thank you.
Joe?
Sir?
Can I just add to that last statement?
Absolutely.
The clinic will have all 3 vaccines starting Monday, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson at the food distribution through the end of this month, June. All 3. Just want to make sure the public knows that.
Is that on the website, John?
28 Stonington Road.
No, it's the fact that all 3 will be there on the website.
I don't know that, Bill.
Well, keep telling me.
Thank you. And I would ask our department leaders, when you give your reports, if you have anything to add on the topic of COVID, you can add it when you give your report. Thank you. Item number 5, new business. Item A, discussion and possible action on Director of Fire Services ordinance. The committee have comments, discussion. I'd like to address anything that was heard during public comment.
Be my guest. You can go.
I'll go first, I guess.
Alderman Nash.
First, I want to say to all the chiefs and anyone else who spoke here, I hear what you're saying. I listen to what you say. I do have constituents that I listen to as well. They're not here tonight, many of them. But I just want to say, we talk about, first of all, I want to get the white elephant out of the room, if that's how you want to use it. I don't know what the hell anyone's talking about political motivation. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sitting back, I have no idea what political motive you're talking about. Because I don't have a political motive on any of this crap. I've been up here for 12 years. I've served the city of Norwich as a police officer. I watched the firefighting. I watched the police. I watched our emergency services. I don't understand. I saw political crap my whole time up here, 35 years in the city. I've seen the political garbage, but I don't know what politician up here is using politics with this thing. So if we want honesty, let's start with honesty. For decades, you know there's a problem. There's a problem, guys. It's not your fighting fires. You guys are amazing at fighting fires. I'm sorry, I'm emotional because this is emotional to me too. This is it for me. I'm not running again, Joanne. Bulletin, day, you can put it in there. So I don't care anymore. Gloves are off. You want to hate? Hate me. Because I'm going to tell you my truth. The truth of 12 years up here. The truth of 35 years in the city of Norwich. The truth of what I've seen for that time period. I saw amazing firemen fighting fires. Amazing firemen risk their lives to fight fires. I've run out of a burning building at the Warrigan and 43 Broad Street in the middle of a fire when the rest of you guys are running by me to get into the fire. So I've been there. I don't know how to fight a fire. I got a fire extinguisher. I put car fires out before. But that's about it. You guys do an amazing job. The Roth Street, it's the wrong argument, guys. It's the wrong argument. It's not about whether you can fight fires together because you're hand in glove. You with the paid guys are hand in glove. There's a little bit here. You shouldn't have been there. Why were you there? I didn't call you. Well, that's how we work. I get that stuff. That's little stuff. I get that. That's just, we'll fix that. That can be fixed. But for the 12 years up here, I've been hearing, give us a chance. Give us a chance. Give us a chance. Einstein, I'll paraphrase, said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. For 12 years, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over again and always told, this time, This time, okay? So if you want honesty, that's the first part, okay? I wrote a lot of stuff down. I don't want to get too much into it because, again, the position is too much money. I said that to John. I said that to my fellow council persons. I don't know where that price tag came from. I was hoping there was $140,000 with benefits, but apparently that's not it. So I'm a little confused about that because I didn't think it was going to be that kind of money. And I also believe that the position would not be able to be a 40-hour-a-week firefighting whatever position. I get that too. I don't see, maybe the first 4 or 5 months with the person wrapping their head around everything and trying to meet with everybody and try to get the culture of our city and figure out where he needs to be with that. So that I figure maybe that would be the first, I don't know, 6 months or so, getting his head around that, or her, or whatever pronoun they prefer. So once they get that, then I figured then they can go into helping the city manager with some of the things that he can't get to, because it's obvious from my time sitting up here that the city manager can't do it all. I sat through 3 city managers, and all 3 city managers had the same difficulty. So there's obviously an issue here, and we got rid of an assistant city manager. I'm not really sure what happened there, but I don't know if that was a politically motivated thing or whatever the heck that was about, but we got rid of that. Okay, I was sitting up here when we voted that out because it was in the budget. So we voted that out. I'm not sure what that was all about, but I wasn't sure that that was the proper decision to make. Okay, the position that this person's, it's not a political position, first of all. I don't want it to be a political. That's why I was against the commission versus a commissioner. Because a commission is going to be people voted in or elected or through the selection committee, and they pick that person, and the person's either a Democrat, Republican, unaffiliated, taxes, whatever. So I can see where that position can be a political position, because now you've got politics involved, just like the Public Safety Council. There's politics involved here because there's 2 Democrats, 1 Republican, or 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. There's always something going on there. Okay? Now, I don't know how you guys think about me or feel about me, and listen, I spent my entire adult life serving the city of Norwich, just like many of you. I broke my back on the job and was forced to leave my position as a police officer. I'd still be there today. So I know what it means to love the city of Norwich and want to do right by the city of Norwich, and I've never sat up here and made a decision based on politics. I made a decision based on what I thought was the best thing for the city of Norwich. And I continue to make that decision. All right? The position is someone that can coordinate and evaluate and prioritize. Someone mentioned radios. I agree with you. We also have a dispatch problem. We need to get that fixed. This is what a coordinator could do. This is what, I don't care what you call them, director, commissioner, Mickey Mouse, call them whatever you want, I don't care. But that person can oversee and make it easier for you guys. I don't see where you're upset. I'm from Jersey, and let me tell you something. I love New England. It's amazing up here. It's beautiful. It's paradise. I swear to God, in spring and summer, fall, you can't find a better place to live in this country. But New Englanders, and I don't mean to be insultive, you guys cannot stand change. You hate it. You'd still be running around in buggies and horses if you could get away with it. You hate change in New England. Mention one change and you're all coming up here and telling us we're idiots. We're the idiots. We don't know what we're doing. I don't know how to fight a fire. I don't know how to do it. So I take the 6 of you and say, hopefully you do the right things for us. And I've seen it. And 99% of it's been the right thing. There's 6 departments. Call your subcontractors if you like. That's fine. But the city of Norwich pays for your fire trucks. The city of Norwich keeps your lights on, puts your oil in the tanks. The city of Norwich does all this. And I don't believe in a one-city tax. I'll never support that, ever, 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 ever. Sorry, never. But all I can say is that you owe more to just your village. It's the entire city that's counting on you. When you go back up people, when you go do the mutual aids or whatever you want to call it, I call it backing it up, but you call it mutual aid. It's important. I know Chief Montoya can't operate in the city without your support. Everyone knows that. No one's ever questioned that. It's just 6 budgets. I think we can get one guy to sit down with all of you and prioritize. I know there are houses that need oil tanks and roofs and staircases and parking lots and repavements and additional bays. And these are all, and radios and a dispatch. We know we need all these things. But every budget time we come up here and 6 of you hit us, then the fire, police department, then the school budget wants, umpteen millions of dollars, and we're evil and demonic when we don't give it to them? Guys, I don't know where to go. Be mad at me if you want. Call me, cuss me out, do whatever you want, but we keep doing the same thing over and over again and always told, don't worry, this time we'll get it right. Well, you know what? I have a political feeling that you guys are political. Because if you hold on 2 years, you can get rid of anyone that doesn't support you or doesn't agree with you. Just get rid of that guy. Don't vote for him or her. 2 years, and all I got to say is one thing that pisses you all off, and I don't get reelected. So if I back this up 100% and I was running for reelection, I can guarantee you dollar to donuts I'd never get reelected. Guarantee it. And that's the power you have politically. Forget the 37,000 other citizens in the city who may want or may not want. I only got about 40 responses to people talking about this when I saw the newspaper article. I've stopped reading the comments because for 12 years, I've been called an idiot more than I can shake my stick at. And I can't always be wrong, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not always wrong. Sometimes I'm right. And this is one time I think I might be. If you think it's too fast, okay, maybe. I don't know why it was pushed so quickly. With John giving the description and coming up with some of the, I don't understand where that, I thought we were going to have more time myself because I thought the position wasn't even being considered until October, November or something like that. But I can understand that we probably have to have something in place to decide what the guy's going to do or whoever is going to do. I mean, that's the horse in front of the cart. What's the person going to do? And then who do we want to do this? What qualifications are we looking for? So that's all I mean, listen, I'm sorry I got emotional, but I've been sitting up here and I've been trying to help and I've been trying to do things. I think this position will not hinder you. It doesn't micromanage you. I think it enhances the ability of the firefighting service in our city, both volunteer and fire, because this is not about the volunteers. This is not about the paid. It's about the firefighting service within the city of Norwich, period. End of story. It's the whole kit and caboodle. That's all. And I know nobody wants someone over them. I get it. You just mentioned you're subcontractor. So who knows if you're going to listen to this guy? Who knows? That's all. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Alderman Bettencourt?
Wow, that's a tough one to follow up. Well, I'll tell you that I do have an agenda, and my agenda is public safety, plain and simple. It's the delivery of the service. It's making sure that people get taken care of, that we deliver the service to the citizens of this city in the most efficient and way possible, at the same time taking into account the safety of the people that deliver the service. So that is my only agenda. I don't, the fact of the matter is, like Alderman Nash said, you guys do a tremendous job. There's no two ways about that. You do great work. I think I'm going to break from my train of thought here. John, we talk about the dispatch. I know we're looking at a dispatch bond referendum at this point, I think. And that includes the radio piece, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, because Aaron Russell, that's a wonderful point you brought up. It's absolutely right.
And we do have the preliminary permission from the federal government for the $700,000 earmark for the CAD system.
Good. So that whole piece has to be addressed, and that is in process, just so you know. I don't want you to think that, it's something we forgot about or anything like that. Because I'm kind of jumping around on the notes I was taking. So I think what happens is, though, is you have 6 separate departments, and you each run your organizations very well. On the fire ground, you work great interchangeably. It's tremendous. I got no complaints. The problem is nobody considers it from the viewpoint of the town or city as a whole, in the method that Alderman Nash was saying. So to be honest with you, we can't keep going with this kind of siloed approach. You know, we're not going to be able to afford to maintain it. That's what we're running into now as we go along. Because it's not just, you guys are great, the volunteers, I'll speak to the volunteers, you guys are a great value, as pointed out, your budget and stuff is fine, but the numbers you don't talk about or you didn't note are the debt service on your apparatus and things like that. So those are things that, when they come up, you know, they count in the numbers too. But I don't care, even with that, doesn't matter. You're still I don't care, you buy your new fire trucks every year, you'd still be a great value, you know? So, I mean, there's no two ways about that. But the city couldn't afford to do that. So, and this is the problem we've got. So, part of what we're talking about is interoperability, I think, and what was the things in the study. When they did the study, we didn't give them any marching orders at all. So what they came up with, and some of you, I think, attended the presentation, he said basically that recommending another layer of administration was not the way he would ever recommend. Usually he's taking out layers of administration, you know? So, but in this case, there are so many pieces that need to be addressed. The culture needs to essentially change. Each one of you is actually a city department. And you need to be following certain rules. And if you don't, then the city is what's going to be liable. You know, so if you guys want to sign up and accept, you know, certain liabilities, you know, maybe we could do something. But the fact of the matter is, these are things as a city that have to be considered. You know, we need to be doing things consistently across the board. So there's this. And I assume most of you have actually read the study rather than listening to what somebody says about it, so that you've seen some of the things that are in there. But those are all things that this position could address, and I think that's primarily what I'm concerned about. Now, in my reading of the ordinance, I will tell you there's some things I've got some concerns about, and I'd certainly be willing to discuss the actual content of the ordinance and whatever. I share with Alderman Nash's concern regarding the cost of the position. I think we could probably do better than what's been quoted, but I don't know. So, the city manager thought enough about it to put it in his budget, to put the position in his budget. If that didn't happen, I'm not sure we'd be here now. But he put it in his budget, and if he has it there, then we have to talk about what the parameters of the position are going to be. When you look at the charter and it talks about the fire service, it talks about making changes to the organizational structure by ordinance. And that's why we're here, I think, talking about this. So, again, I don't have, you know, obviously there's a political aspect to this, I guess, if you look at, you know, if I look at this from a personal standpoint. But for me, it's a public safety issue. It really is. You know, it's just the delivery, it's the delivery of the service. Now, I manage a dispatch center at Pfizer. Some of you know that, for 11 years. So I look at it from that perspective a lot of times. So, but it's, these things are only about the delivery. All of the things in the study were written from the perspective of the delivery of service to the people that are getting it. And that's the bottom line. And that's really the only thing I think that really counts here. Because if we start looking at it from any other way, then, you know, we're looking to fail. So, let's see. I guess I could go on for a long time, but I've said, I can't beat what Bill said, so I'll relinquish. Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you both for your comments. I also took some notes while people are at the podium speaking. I listened to everything that you said, and I have some thoughts as well. First, one of the prevailing themes that I think we heard over and over again is that the Director of Fire Services, there's a perception that the Director of Fire Services is going to show up at scenes and start telling people how to fight fire. That is not anywhere in this ordinance. So anybody who's saying that doesn't understand what we're trying to do here. We have 6 fully qualified chiefs and their staffs beneath them that do an excellent job, as my colleagues have said, as the rest of the council believes, right, at putting out the fires. There's no question about that. I could talk about that for an hour, but that statement is valid in its own right. This is not about how we fight fire. This is about how we manage our fire service. And those are two very different things. Now, I will say that the city manager put this in his budget because people like me said that I wanted to see it in there. So I'll take that. I will not put it on the city manager. I asked for this. And I asked for this based on not my personal opinion, and by the way, no political agenda either. I asked for this because the company that provided us with their expert opinion recommended it. And the arguments that they made were valid to me. That's what this is about. This is an administrative position, not an operational super chief. Second thing that caught my attention from the podium was the comment was made about that this is an end run in some way of ultimately putting paid staff in the volunteer firehouses. It is not. I have not ever once supported the idea of putting paid personnel in the volunteer firehouses. I'll say the unless the chief of that firehouse said to us, I can't cover my district anymore. That's not something that is any part of anything that we have talked about as a result of the study. But the fact remains, and the prevailing message is, someone needs to be accountable to the city manager and ultimately to us for making those changes and those improvements that were in the administrative side of our fire service that the study recommended. Someone needs to be accountable. And it's a two-sided argument. When you stand here and you say that you shouldn't be told what to do by someone who doesn't know or hasn't been in the fire service, and then in the same breath you say, oh, but you should let us work with the city manager and we'll make all of these changes. The city manager's never been in a burning building. So we're essentially giving you what you asked for. We're giving you administrative support from a person whose qualifications will have to be the fire service. The intent is to give you one of your own to help you with all of the administrative stuff that the study talked about. I don't see any other way to do it. There has to be someone who's going to be accountable and who also knows the fire service. This is the path. Because I would ask the question, and I mean this with all of the respect and admiration for what you do. Which one of you is going to fall on your sword when the things that we want done don't get done? None of you. I wouldn't expect you to. But someone has to be accountable to us. Another comment that was made that I would like to address is that one of you said, and again, the comments that you made were valuable and appreciated. But I won't single anybody out, I would never do that. But one of you stood there and said, each department has their own policies and procedures. That can no longer be allowed to exist. We have to be managing our fire service under one umbrella. No more 6 departments doing things 6 different ways. And I'm not talking about how you hook a hydrant, or how you load hose on a truck, or how you attack a fire. I'm talking about how you manage your HR. I'm talking about how you track your training. I'm talking about how you put together your budget as a puzzle piece to the entire fire service. Excuse me. Those things cannot be done one-offs 6 different ways every year. Can't do it. We can't afford it. We can't have 6 different committees designing 6 different types of fire trucks and expect the taxpayers to be able to just pick up the tab. We need to have some commonality in our equipment, in our specifications, in what we order and what we buy and how we buy it. These are the things that the Director of Fire Service will help you do. There's also a number of you who said that we were fast-tracking this. Well, I have 2 thoughts on that. First of all, the dispatch and the radios was really the first action item for the study, not the Director of Fire Service. So from the mayor on down, we put the priority right where it belonged: communications, data collection, dispatching in a way that keeps people as safe as we possibly can in one of the most dangerous environments that exists on the planet. That was first, not this Director of Fire Services. But this Director of Fire Services is the linchpin for all the other things that are in the study that we, the 7 of us, received and said, yeah, we need to start attacking these things. My second thing on that was, again, under the term, fast tracking. Yeah, folks, it's been 40 years since the George Paul study. 40 years. And I've read them all, from that one and every single one, internal, external, including the one that we just commissioned and received. And there was a reference made, and it was a good reference to my profession. In my profession, if you put together an action plan and after 40 years there's no measurable improvement, somebody is going to ask, why haven't you changed what you do? It goes to Alderman Nash's point. Why do you keep doing the same thing if you can't show that it benefits, in my case, students? Why would we keep doing the same thing if it doesn't show that it benefits service delivery in terms of public safety, in terms of how we buy and how we manage and how we bond in the name of the taxpayers? You guys, again, you're great at the emergency stuff. You're excellent. And as managers in your individual houses, it's been my experience that you're on point. This is not about any of that stuff. This is at the 20,000 foot level, saying, big picture wise, what does our fire service need to do? And it's not like you're being excluded from that. You're actually, the expectation is on you to be part of that. I would find it unacceptable if you refused to be part of that. But there needs to be someone who is accountable to us through the city manager. I hesitate to touch on this because I'm a big boy and I've been called names, on and off throughout my life like everybody, okay? But it is getting old to be called an idiot from the podium just because I disagree with you. And I'll leave it at that. And I'll end on this because in the interest of time, I could, like my colleagues, we could talk for hours, right? My motive is simple, and it's what you've heard from my two colleagues. My motive is what is in the best interest of public safety. What is in the best interest of the city of Norwich? We heard a lot about the cost of this position. What the intangibles are, what the math is, we don't know yet. We will see over time what that investment in the right person is going to save us in all those little silos where we're bleeding cash because there's just not enough hours in the day to watch the nickels and the dimes, never mind letting the dollars take care of themselves. But regardless of how I am painted on Facebook, in some of the comments in the newspaper, and in quiet conversations in various firehouses throughout the city, I refuse to let my politics bleed into my responsibility on this committee for public safety to the community. And I'll stop there.
Can I
Yes,
just
Alderman
add
Bettencourt.
one quick thing? I mean, I've been sitting up here off and on since 2005. So when I chaired the committee in, I guess, 2007 and 9, I looked to do, what I would say was not consolidation, but some more efficiency in procurement, basically, standardization of procurement and stuff like that. And that worked for a while. And then, but for me, the easiest thing to do would be to oppose this. If it was a political consideration, I would oppose this. But it's not a political decision. It's a public safety decision. So for those you guys, each of you have your own individual houses and stuff, and I get that, and you got to look out for your houses, and I don't fault you for any of that. But we have a bigger responsibility, and that's to the citizens as a whole, and the city as a whole. So the city and town as a whole. So, and that doesn't just go financially. That just goes from the aspect of the delivery of service. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the members? Then on this issue, is there any thought from the members on possible action on this ordinance from this committee?
I'll make a recommendation that the city council adopt the ordinance with some, I don't have changes that I would like to make right now, but pending their review and amendment, let's just say. Because there are some.
As I understand that, so a motion to pass a favorable recommendation on this ordinance with discussion and debate. I don't understand. How would you like the recording secretary to word
With
that?
considering potential changes at the council level.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd second that because, again, this is bigger than the three of us as well, so I think we would need the whole city council's input in this. So I would agree with that recommendation that we do forward a favorable recommendation. However, it needs to be debated because, like I said, I have an issue with the pay of it itself, so we have to talk about that.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll call. Alderman Bettencourt.
Yes.
Alderman Nash.
Yes.
And the chair, Joseph DeLucia, votes yes. Motion is carried to pass favorable recommendation on to the city council. Thank you all very much. Item B, discussion and possible action, volunteer firefighters relief fund ordinance amendments. I provided each of you with the latest analysis now that the Norwich Fire Department and IAFF 892 has reached and ratified, well, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. IAFF 892 has ratified their,
Sorry, I was just asking if they got
okay,
ratified.
all right. Yeah, they've ratified the tentative agreement, obviously still needs to be reviewed by the council. However, the comptroller has provided us with comparison data. It is on the back page of the document. And I put this on the agenda in the anticipation that that the fire department's contract would be settled, and it has been, so that we have meaningful data. I'm asking if there's any further discussion.
Just a question, I mean, this wasn't referred to us though, right?
No, so
I just was wondering why, you know.
Right, so there was conversation about referring it to us. However, it was postponed multiple times while the city and the IAFF 892 was in negotiations.
We're aware.
This was brought to us in our March meeting, right, by Mr. Quinley, right? And this is a continuation of that discussion. We are under no obligation to take any action at this time because we do not have a formal referral.
Okay.
I just wanted the members to have all the information that I have. Any further discussion on it?
Do we need to be involved in it?
Actually, without a formal referral from the council, we do not have to take any action or even discuss it beyond the fact that I've shared the information I have with you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on it? Okay. All right, thank you. And item C, department and agency updates. And starting with Norwich Public Utilities. Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Alderman. NPU is transitioning to phase 3 of our return to work plan this month. We have resumed normal in-home services and our customer service center is open. Right now, both our reservoirs are at full pond. And moving on to the water main, right now, as everyone knows, the water main that feeds east side from 8th Street is still shut down due to the break that's underneath the tracks. Fortunately, we have finally received a permit from the railroad, and we are tentatively looking to make repairs between 4 p.m. Friday, June 25th, and noon Sunday, June 27th. Within that window, once we start work, the railroad is actually only giving us 24 hours to make repairs. Anything beyond that 24 hours, the railroad will charge us $2,000 per hour in liquidated damages. Given this very, very small window that we have to accomplish this work, we are reaching out to a contractor to make the repairs in light of using our own personnel like I talked about last time. Once the repair is completed, NPU will then need to perform bacteria testing and flushing of the new pipe. That should take about 3 days. So if we are successful in making the repair by the 27th, I would imagine we'll have service restored within that main by the 30th. Additionally, we have also started our annual hydrant flushing this week. We started on Otrobano Ave and West Town Street. We always start with our larger mains, and then we move into our smaller mains in neighborhoods and such. That will carry forward through the fall. And then lastly, for our fire chiefs, our annual gas and electric safety training will start after June 21st. Chris Golis, our field services general foreman, will be reaching out to you if you have not heard from him already regarding scheduling this training. And pending your questions, that's all I have.
I just have one question about the water under the railroad. we are maintaining Fire Watch over on the east side?
Yes, yes,
On
that's still in
Hamilton
place, and that
Avenue?
will be in place until we restore.
Until that
service.
project is completed?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Gentlemen?
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you. American Ambulance.
Well, this is fun for the first time in the year. Mr. Chairman, Alderman, thank you for having us. In the course of the last month, American Ambulance responded to 724 calls in the city of Norwich, or 724 911 responses, which is just shy of our 5-year pre-COVID average. We are up over 100 calls from last year this time of year. We continue to see a rise in psychiatric emergencies and falls in the city. We are still working pretty intently with the Human Services Department, with Director Gomes and her staff there to address the needs of the citizens as they come up to our attention, in addition to working with Southeastern Mental Health and other community partners, Bacchus Hospital, and amongst others, to address those needs of the significant populations in Norwich that we deal with on a regular basis. In that vein, I would like to say that Director Gomes will be greatly missed by us, and we look forward to working with her replacement in the coming months. That relationship during my tenure as director has been incredibly fruitful for both us and the city of Norwich, and we are grateful for the Human Services Department, as we are to all the departments for their support of our efforts to provide emergency medical care to the city. Our COVID impacts are negligible at this point. Our PPE stores are more than sufficient. We currently have no staff that are out or quarantined, and we are returning to our full staffing patterns with CDC recommendations as far as masking is concerned. Pending any questions, I have nothing further for the council.
Gentlemen? Good. None from me. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Joe.
Norwich Police. Chief, as you make your way to the podium, know that I gave copies of your stats report to both of the other members of the committee.
Good evening. I understand that's a work in progress, so anything you don't like or formats or information you guys want in that report, let me know.
And
Trying to just give you a thumbnail based on the discussion with Alderman DeLucia.
And please just let me say, feel free to contact the chief directly if there's stuff that you want to see in his report.
Yeah, I emailed it to, it's in your city emails.
Yep.
Just so
I
you
got
have
it. Yeah, I
it.
got it, yeah, thank you.
So that saves like about 20 minutes of my conversation. It is good to see you all. I'll put a mask on so you know what I look like. It's been a while to be up here. Talking to Alderman DeLucia, we said once you get the stats out of the way and the crime, we want to talk about some of the good we're doing. So tonight, I want to please announce that Sergeant Nick Rankin will be getting the Jenkins Award from the NAACP on June 18th at 9:30 in front of City Hall for his efforts with Rose City United. Director of Rose City United and Sergeant Rankin are getting it, so that's, in these times, this is just another proof that what's going on here is a rarity. Gun buyback is coming up in late June at Dodge Stadium. That was done through donations, and it'll be first come, first serve. There'll be more press coming out on that, but in case someone asks you. Transfer switch. If you remember back last year, we had some power transfer generator issues at the police department. So first phase of that is replacing the transfer switch. We've been working on that with Public Utilities and Prime Electric and Public Works. So the transfer switch is done. We're hoping that the generator is done next year. Continuing to work on the CAD, RMS, and radio projects. We have a next meeting with the fire chiefs on June 18th. Question, I think I get what Alderman Betancourt was asking. We're still in the understanding you guys need budget numbers by early July for a potential bond. And that's what we're still operating on because we've been kind of pushing the ball. So that's what we're assuming. Our lobby is fully open, no COVID impacts, and it's good to see everybody. That's all I have, unless there's questions or concerns.
Gentlemen?
I have a request, but I'll email it to you.
Yeah, and as for the matter you emailed me about.
Yeah, it's not about that.
It's been addressed.
Yeah, he said, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Do you want to say something? Or?
No, just that it's been addressed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you offline, but it's.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Montoya, Emergency Management.
I don't like this setup, it's too far away.
Good evening, all. Emergency management for the month since our last public safety meeting. We did move forward on the updates to our training room for the secondary EOC. So earlier this week, the wiring and the computer stuff was installed. We're waiting for MIS to install the hardware for the phones, computers, and the new monitors. So that's good. A couple weeks ago, we wrapped up the FEMA mobile vaccine unit that was hosted at St. Mary's. For both sets, I came 2 sets of 2 days. Let me see, make sure I said that correctly. They came for 2 visits. Each of those visits was 2 days. They administered the Pfizer vaccine on the first visit, and on the second visit, Pfizer and J&J vaccine. The numbers for the Pfizer were 165 each visit, and the J&J, I don't have the numbers on that. So a great collaboration of a lot of state, federal, and local agencies, so kudos to all of them. For the Region 4 ESF 6, we continue to collect Red Cross shelter kits for upgrades from the communications group. We have been the collection point just for a few towns locally. To date, we've turned 4 of those back over to Sioux Falls from Red Cross. The emergency management garage on McKinley Avenue will be a collection point for the fire departments to drop off their PFAS foam. That's the foam that we use for certain types of fires that is not environmentally friendly. So the state has contracted with Clean Harbors to collect all that foam that's containerized. And then once they collect the containerized foam, they'll work on the apparatus and cleaning out our onboard foam systems. So we're using the garage at McKinley Avenue as a collection point for them, make it easier for the collection group. And pending any questions, that's all I have from emergency management.
I just have one. Is there a substance that is going to replace the not so environmentally friendly foam?
Of course there is. There is a green foam, as we call it, that is much more environmentally friendly, but it's also a substantial cost. So I think some of my colleagues may speak to theirs because some of them have bought it already. I haven't ordered ours yet. Well, I take that back. I've ordered it. We just haven't received delivery yet.
Thank you. Gentlemen? Okay, well, we'll move right into fire departments. Start with Norwich Fire.
All right, thank you. So the response data, the reports were sent out this morning. Any questions on either of the reports that were forwarded? All right, thank you. Significant responses, as you all know, the Roth Street fire on Sunday afternoon heavily damaged 2 homes and heat damage to a 3rd residence. In addition to the buildings, there were 2 motor vehicles and a motorcycle that were also damaged. 21 people were displaced, 17 adults, 4 children, and 1 pet perished, unfortunately. As you heard, there was some stellar interagency cooperation, a total of 9 departments on scene, the 6 city departments, New London Fire Department, Sub-Base, and Mohegan Tribe for FAST. So I unfortunately wasn't there. I had reserve duty this past weekend, but the feedback that I had both from internal and external to Norwich Fire Department was an outstanding job by all on some difficult conditions on a very tough day. Other significant incident, we had a 2-car MVA with entrapment on West Main Street. On arrival, they knew they had entrapment just by the the extent of damage, I should say. And thankfully, the crews went to work, a good coordinated effort, utilized some of the skills that we recently gained through our vehicle rescue tech course that just wrapped up last week. So that was good. Again, kudos to them. Critical needs, as always, broken record, Squad A. It remains the top of the list, and I think there is consensus from the last Chiefs meeting that the other groups, the Chiefs support that as well as being priority replacement for the apparatus for the city. The radio survey, I'm not going to say we're done, but we have done a pretty extensive survey of the statewide radio system. What we want to do now is we want to go a little bit further and test some of the potentially problematic areas with digital noise canceling. So we want to use the radios in a high noise environment, either chainsaws operating, clotheslines operating, things that we encounter on a regular basis and carrying out our duties, and see if we have any problems with the digital noise cancellation feature hindering communications instead of helping. So that's kind of unique to the fire service, that the police department doesn't encounter that problem as we would. So that is one area that we want to do a little further experimenting with. So the groups that have portable radios still are going to go out and do that, and our group has been directed as well. Staffing, very pleased to report that the 2 recruits graduated and did quite well at the Connecticut Fire Academy recruit class. They graduated on the 26th of May. They were sworn in on the 28th, and they both started their respective shifts on the holiday weekend. So very pleased to say that staffing-wise, we're currently full. We will be posting for our fire code clerk on the office side. I'm hoping that post will go out this week for internal and external candidates. The fire code clerk has been vacant for, her effective date was 20 May, so we're working there. Facilities, despite the city's movement, both stations remain closed to the public. There are a number of reasons for that. If you wish to talk offline, we can. But we are hosting city and partner agency meetings as appropriate, but we are still closed to the public. The fire marshals are doing their business through appointment or are in the lobby, and no issues with that. Let's see. Parking lot project, which was scheduled for last month and probably reported on during last month's meeting, due to weather, was pushed to this month, and we hope to wrap that up in the next couple weeks. Training, company training continues. Very pleased with an effort just the other night with a joint training evolution between East Great Plains and ourselves. We went over some standpipe operations downtown in the parking garage. Again, good job by all on that. Fire services, the chiefs have indeed met with the city manager, and we have met on our own, per the direction of you folks, the Public Safety Committee. Those meetings went well. They were productive. If you're interested in the meeting minutes, I can forward those to you. But I didn't speak during the public comment regarding the fire commissioner or fire director or the supervisor position. But I will tell you that from the interaction that we've had over the past several weeks, that we do deserve the chance to settle a lot of that stuff on our own. But separate conversation. COVID-19, no impact to the department, thankfully. We do have no PPE issues, and we are pretty good. Happy to say, again, no new cases in quite a while. General comments, I want to express publicly appreciation and accommodation for the dispatcher that handled that fire on Sunday afternoon. Chief Daly could probably pronounce her name better than me, but I believe it's Andrea Rizzuto. And she was on her own as a sole civilian dispatcher in dispatch center. And for those of us that have ever worked a dispatch center for the fire service, especially during a working fire of that nature, we know how overwhelming it could be. And from my phone communications with her to the radio communications that I've listened to so far and to the feedback that I've received from a number of people, just a stellar job by her, and I want to recommend her or recognize her for that. Along the 911 notes, I do have a question for Chief Daly, which I will take offline, but I feel warrants mentioned to you as a group. The 911 system was undoubtedly overwhelmed on Sunday afternoon, as were the personnel in that dispatch center. So my question regards because I received feedback from a couple community members that the 911 calls were going unanswered. And that's unsatisfactory because we don't know if it's related to the same call. We don't know if it's expanding information on the actual call or what it is. So I don't know the system capabilities, and I apologize, Chief Daly, for not asking you this before. If after a certain number of rings or a certain period of time that it rolls over to a secondary PSAP, but that certainly is something we need to look at because, again, I heard it from a couple different groups in the community and a couple different neighbors that 911 calls went unanswered. And if that call was related to a different incident, we're putting our community at risk. So Penny, any questions? That's all I have from the fire department side.
All right, we'll start with the obvious. Why was there only one dispatcher on?
Contractually, they're only allowed to work on the weekends if they take time off as work.
You think that's prudent, or
No.
is
That's how they negotiate the contract. That's something I inherited.
that's part of their CBA? That only one has to work that day?
Something to look into.
Yep.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Mark?
No.
Thank you,
Anything else I can ask offline? Thank you.
Bill?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Two things. So you mentioned Squad A for the
100 years.
however many time, right? More than fingers I have, okay? So, and I will only say that, again, one of the first and biggest things that the Director of Fire Safety is going to be tasked with is answering the questions about apparatus allocation citywide and what needs to be replaced and what the batting order needs to be and what the specifications need to be. But again, it's not going to be one person dictating terms. It's going to be one person working with 60 chiefs and coming up with a plan that makes sense. That should then come to the council, which in my mind depoliticizes the apparatus buying component of what we have going on here. On a much more positive note, okay, the Roth Street fire, I heard, obviously, I didn't hear about it at the time. I heard about it after the fact. I heard nothing but glowing accolades from every single person that I talked to. So recognized from this chair what a great job every single person did, and that's exactly how things should be in terms of how we should work together. Again, I don't like to single anyone out, but I was told, and I believe that the information was accurate, that there was some very creative problem solving by Chief Ibers out of Yannick to get a third engine out of his firehouse. And sir, thank you very much for bringing that expertise and that creative thinking to this problem. I have nothing else for you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, TAFL. Tom?
Yep. The chief said he forwarded it to you guys.
Okay, so I will make sure that it gets forwarded to the recording secretary. Thank you, Tom. Yannick.
Hey, good evening again, everyone. Last month, the Yannick Fire Department responded to 57 incidents, 5 of which were overlapping calls. We did notice that our false alarm, which is usually high, up over 10%, was down to 3.5%. We have a new EMT within the station, and the reporting issue, as far as reporting to the state, the entrance calls going to the state, that was fixed last month. That night, I believe I sent you an email indicating that we had figured out how to get that squared away. We have 0 COVID impacts at the firehouse. We opened the firehouse up for Memorial Day weekend. We also we have a schedule to be providing coverage for a fireworks detail at Dodge Stadium. Norwich Fire Marshals will be doing the inspection, and we'll be doing the standby and the safety patrols up in the stands. Training, again, is still in person. We're concentrating on the rescue side for extrication. Unfortunately, we get kind of busy on 395 and 2 and 32 in the summertime. And on the fire side, we're operating on water flow, pump operations, and hose operations. I have a question I'll probably take up with Chief Daly later on, but if anyone's noticed, exit 14 southbound on 395, there's work going on in the shoulder, and I'm not even sure we have a SAPAT, but maybe you being the local traffic authority, we can get something to DOT. There is no deceleration lane, and I am so concerned that we're gonna have a tractor trailer end up in that bowl area between the on-ramp and the off-ramp.
It was backed up onto the highway, into the right lane, when I came down from there around 3 o'clock today.
Yeah, and yesterday, we were up there yesterday for an accident. They had like 3 different maintenance operations taking place, plus that construction project right at the off-ramp. So I'm not sure, I'll talk to Chief Daly on that a little bit later on.
And that's the exit that leads onto West Town Street.
I thought they were doing the construction stuff at night. This is during the day they're doing it? I'm in New London at work, so I don't know.
I didn't see any work crews, but they did have the lane narrowed down, and the traffic was
It's been narrowed
backed
down
up.
with Jersey
Yeah.
barrier, and then just a very short, abrupt lead into the ramp. So no deceleration lane. Other than that, should be, one other thing. facilities, dryer and the extractor have been installed. That installation's complete and they're both operational. Anything for me?
Oil tank. What's your, where are you at with that? And the stairs?
Stairs are complete. I'll have to check just to make sure that that's all been finalized. Oil tank, I'm gonna have to double check on, to be 100% honest with you.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Perfect.
all right, thank you.
Good, thank you. Akam.
I got nominated by Chief Spalding to come up and talk
He
this time.
seems to be delegating quite well back there.
Oh, he is. He's doing a great job. He just points and go. All right.
He's looking pretty good, too.
He is.
Yeah, that's a, there you go.
All right, so actually, I'll start off. We are now up to a total of 67 calls for the year, 15 of those being mutual aid. Last month, we did bump our volume back up to normal levels, so we had 21 calls. To tag on to what Chief Ibers just said, one of our challenges right now is between exit 18 and 14 because they're doing those 3 culvert replacements.
Yeah.
So right at exit 14, that is going to be a hindrance to us. Other critical needs, so again, replacement of engine 41. It was highlighted in the fire study that was one of the apparatus that should be replaced. Radio survey, as Chief Montoya mentioned, we do continue to work with the other chiefs. And our highlight this time is the noise canceling feature to see how that will work for us. Membership holds strong at 37. In our facilities, we have numerous projects that are still ongoing or recently completed. So the bulkhead that I reported on last month is now complete. The downstairs bathroom shower is also complete with the exception of painting and patching the drywall. And then our hose testing is complete as well. Training has continued throughout the month of May and into June. This month's focus is all on motor vehicle accidents. We do have a drill coordinated with Lisbon on vehicle extrication for June 22nd. They're going to come down and we're going to cut a couple cars. And then I'm also working with Lieutenant Hertz from Yannick to do a joint drill between Yannick, Taffel, and us for sometime in July with water supply. We did have one member, Vinny De Jesus, that completed his NREMT and is just waiting on his licensure. And then I have another 4 members that are waiting to finish all their stuff to be EMT. COVID-19 impacts, we are fully reopened following guidance from the CDC. No new positive cases or close contacts amongst our members. PPE is doing well still, no issues there. And last month you asked, and we do have 65% of our members that are vaccinated. So we do continue to track that as we push them to keep getting vaccinated. Other notable items, chicken barbecue was this past Saturday. Our next one is now in October as we do renovations on our pit. The budget is on track. We're closing out all of our POs, and for the rest of the year, we will finish slightly in the red because of the fact that we had unexpected things come up in May. OSHA is continuing to go around to departments. We're going to reach out to them. Chief Milton gave us a contact so we can figure out what other baseline items they're looking for so they can give us a heads up to be prepared for that. We do continue our planning for training requirements in regards to the potential business park in the Occam area, as well as future development needs, pending development. Annual physicals are ongoing and are expected to be done by the end of June with any remaining stragglers in July. And of course, we have been meeting with the other chiefs and keeping communications open through email back and forth. And we do have another meeting with the city manager on the 17th, the radio meeting on the 18th, and again, future ones with the other chiefs after that. Pending any other questions, that is all that I have.
Gentlemen?
Just, I'm not complaining or anything, don't get me wrong. It's just, what were your unanticipated expenses?
A couple of them. So we weren't quite expecting that all of our air bottles were going to be needing hydro this year.
Oh, okay.
So that was cost of about, what was it, $4 grand ish? About $4 grand just alone on that. Kind of, we lost track of it. So that was one of them.
Happens. You would have had to spend the money anyway.
We would
You
have.
would have, yeah, so,
Exactly.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I know you had one of the trucks were having, one of the trucks had issues. Which one was that?
So that was
Has been
41.
addressed at all?
Yeah, so 41 had a couple issues that it was in the city garage. It was down there for a day, and then they gave it back to us. It does need to go back in. There is a gauge on the pump that needs to be replaced, and what was the other item? Oh, the low air alarm.
Okay. But those are all repairable items, right?
They are repairable. A couple of things they did have to wait on to come from Pierce or another manufacturer, so that way we could get that done.
Thank
So
you.
at some point, that will go back out of service for about a day or two.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
EGP. Keep in mind.
All right, good evening again. I believe emailed out my statistics
Yes.
for last month.
Yep.
Just to recap, EGP responded to 95 responses in the month of May. Our call volume has been steadily going up a lot. Not really sure what's going on there. Continuing our in-person monthly trainings. As Chief Montoya said, we actually just drilled with the City Fire Department last night on standpipe operations at the Transportation Center. Very well informed drill between the two departments, and something we're going to continue on with even some of the buildings in our district, having them come out and help us out, helping us out in formulating a little bit better standpipe operation for us. That way, if we go into them, we'll know what to expect, and vice versa. Also had an outside company come in and do some rope rescue and rigging last month over the weekend. And the weekend before, 2 weeks ago now, I'm losing track, we did some training with TAFL and Yannick with their dive team, what we can expect, and God forbid if we have an incident in our district, what they're looking for from us and what we can expect from them and how we can operate with all that. Just had 2 firefighters complete their firefighter 1, waiting to take their written test shortly. Still continuing our online training as well. Routine maintenance on the apparatus. Engine 52 was out of service for a couple of days. I believe we had another air leak on it. We repair 1, we find 2. Repair 2, we find 3 type of thing. And again, that's one of our critical needs is the replacement of 52. Other critical need, parking lot replacement / repair. We got a lot of areas where it's starting to sink in due to the age and such. We had I think it was 2 years ago, we had a wrecker come out. We had a flat tire on one of our apparatus. John Raymond set up. They put the outrigger down and it punctured into the parking lot.
Do you have drainage issues?
I'm sorry?
Do you have drainage issues?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, if that makes sense.
You know how it doesn't.
Yeah, it seems like it does, but then it doesn't. Like I said, it's kind of weird. One storm drain, and if you ever paid attention, is like in our parking lot. So to me, it should have been closer to New London Turnpike. And I think it might have been at one point in time when they did the expansion. Pat, is that correct? Does that sound correct? Pat would know better. So one of the storm drains is kind of like in our parking lot. So when you get a good heavy rain, where the parking lot and New London Turnpike meet, it's not making that drainage, you know?
There was a bat hole.
Looks like a.
For COVID, our PPE supplies are good. We have no issues, no members, knock on wood. Hopefully that stays that way. The members are still wearing their masks on all calls and remaining vigilant. Decon the equipment, trucks, and apparatus. Our hall renovation, we're still going strong. We're getting there. We just had the electrician arrive today and started replacing everything. It was finally sheetrocked and primed a week or so ago. So we're getting there. Trying to think, lost my notes here. Yeah, we have a few items that we got to do for the hall that are on hold right now due because at the end of the budget and kind of done. So we got to wait till July 1st to get a few other items to get the hall project done as well. I finally got the 3 quotes to have the firehouse resided. I reached out to Bob Casanova down to finance, so we're good to go there. I just got to hopefully get to the firehouse one of these days and get the requisition and get that process going. So that's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
I just want to say, and this is to all the others as well, the fire up on Roth, I want to thank you for texting me, not only just everyone was okay with pictures, and there was a few other, Taffil, Occam, you guys got back to me, and I really appreciate it. And I know it sucks because I'm in New London, I talked to the mayor, so I was trying to get to the scene, and the mayor called me and said, you can't get up there, and so I just want to thank those guys that responded to me, because I really do care about what's going on, and if there was something I could have done from the outside, I mean,
Appreciate it.
But thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good. Perfect, thank you. Laurel Hill.
Good evening again. I sent an email out today with all of our statistics, so I won't bore you with all those again. Membership is doing well. We actually just got 3 new members in as of last Tuesday, so we're getting them acclimated to everything. We have no COVID concerns currently. 95% of the membership is vaccinated. We only have 2 members who are holding out for personal reasons, which we're not going to get into. It's them. So that's good. PPE is good. Training, we've also, like every other department, now's the time of the year where we do a lot of outdoor training. Last weekend, we attended a training over in Montville with all the Montville departments. We also brought our UTV, which is also back in service. It took a while to get the part back in, but it is back in service and fully ready to go. Going on concerns that we have, the host tender is currently out of service. The transmission blew on it. All the chiefs have been aware, the city manager is also aware of it. I'm waiting for John Raymond to actually get me what it's gonna take to fix it. I don't know. Don't have prices, don't even know what it's gonna take. He just says the transmission's gone. So we're working on it. I have no idea when that's actually going to be back in service, but obviously how it goes is the city manager will be aware when I am. Other than that, everything's going well. If you guys have any questions.
Nothing.
Perfect.
Well, actually, I do have one. So, did we finally finish up the wall?
Yes, the wall. The wall got delayed a little bit because of the heat. No one wants to work in 100-degree humidity and cutting rocks and breaking them up and making a wall with it. It's not a thing that has to be done right this second. And they were also working on another project which got delayed. So ours naturally got delayed as well. So the heat kind of put an end to a lot of people working outside. And it is what it is at this point. But it is, I'm told, as long as the weather cooperates, next week is when they're supposed to start. And it should only take them 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, the work so far is beautiful.
As long as the heat cooperates, we
It's
should be
supposed to be
good.
in the 70s and 60s. all the
Perfect. As long as it's not 100, we should be good.
That's it for me, guys.
Perfect.
All set, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So before we move on, just on the fire department reports, please, chiefs, will you do me a favor and uniquely name your PDFs before you email them to me? Because if you all send me incident report for May, then I have 6 that keep overwriting each other, right? Because they all have the same name, right? So just please put your department and then the month, and that would be unique enough so that I can keep a file and get them to the recording secretary. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, public safety items for future discussion. Gentlemen, what?
I don't know, but just keep on going, I guess.
Keep going?
No, I don't have anything new.
Okay. For future discussion, anything you want me to put on the agenda, you'll let me know.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously.
Okay. All right. Our
Same
next.
with anybody else,
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Well, again, it's open invitation to just email me for any of the stakeholders. You could just email me. I just didn't know.
No,
if
I'm
you
good.
guys had anything on top of your mind. Okay. All right. So then, moving on to item number 7. Our next meeting will be July the 14th, 2021, here in council chambers. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right.
Motion?
Made by Alderman Nash, seconded by Alderman Bettencourt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Life is good.